survival of the fittest, man. It was Darwinism at its best. I don't care if you felt like you could handle cold weather. 59 below is like, it's like you're on Mars, man. It's like you're on another planet. It was brutal. Ran around for 4 hours, never came close to breaking a sweat. Didn't want to. Worst thing you do is break a sweat in that kind of temperature. So it was miserable though, man. Hitting people, felt like I broke bones. You know, I mean, it was that you felt like you were that brittle. It was crazy.
Sense of pride. I mean, to be top 5 coldest, well, wind chill, the coldest of all time. Is it a sense of pride to be a part of that? And, you know, that history.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's whenever there's a piece of history, if you're involved with it, you know, it's something to tell the grandkids about. You know, that you were there and playing in that particular game. The thing I remember most about that game, honestly, is going in at halftime and warming up a little bit, and then realizing how bad it was going to be when you go back out there for the second half, because you'd already gone through it for a half, and then you start to feel a little normal. Then you know you have to go back out to Mars and play on that planet for another half of football. It was crazy.
You take away the cold. When you stepped out on the field, what was the one thing that you took away from that game on January 10th?
The excitement, you know, and the realization that if we win this football game, we're going to the Super Bowl. So even though you felt like you were in Siberia, literally with that wind whipping off the Ohio River like it was like literally you were like, felt like a soldier in Siberia fighting those conditions. But I remember, you know, the fans were in full throat. The ones that were there were just so excited. Houday had become, you know, big in town, and we just knew that if we won the football game, we were going to play up in Pontiac, Michigan, and play Super Bowl 16.
Do you know the story changes, you know, from each year? 46,000 braved the cold, minus 59, 13,000 no-shows. But I know every time you hear a story, it's 100,000 people that end up making this game.
No question. I mean, it's like, I bet over the years, I've met over 500,000 people that have gone to that game, you know? So it's one of those, I remember my 5-year-old son was at the game, and he's all bundled up and wasn't talking much, so my wife and mother-in-law are with him, and they look, and he's got a tear frozen about halfway down his cheek. He's just frozen to death. My mother-in-law, I'll take him home. She volunteers. But she came back. She dropped him off at home with a babysitter and came back and sat there and for the rest of the game. It was crazy.
One final question, D. Do you guys recollect, like on a day today, where you guys reach out to former teammates and talk about today and just what it meant to play in that pivotal game?
Yeah, honestly, you know, that particular year, the team had never won a playoff game in franchise history. We beat the Buffalo Bills the week before that to win the first playoff game in franchise history, and Forrest Gregg said, why don't you go ahead and win the AFC Championship? Be the first team to ever do that. And the thing about it, Forrest Gregg played in the coldest and coached the second coldest wind chill and coached in the coldest, the Ice Bowl. When Dallas played Green Bay up there in Green Bay, he's right there in that quarterback sneak with Bart Starr to win that game. So when he talked to us about how bad it was going to be, he had instantaneous credibility. He played in it. So he played in one and coached in the other, and his message to us was like, boy, it's going to be like going to the dentist. You don't really want to do it, but you got to go. You got to go, you got to get it done. Go out there and do your job. Let's get it done. Go ahead out there and be AFC champions. I mean, and when he spoke those words, that resonated, because that's exactly what they did against the Dallas Cowboys.